All right, you boys want to send it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Camo Convoy Podcast with Aaron and Nick. Tonight, we have a special guest. Some say he can weld in sandals without getting burned, that his toes have seen more trail summits than any 5th-gen 4Runner, and that his thighs have caused numerous temporary flight restrictions due to glare. All we know is he's Chad Kulig, General Manager of AllDogs Offroad. Chad, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, it's good to
We're
have
excited.
Not one comment about booty shorts, though?
No, well, the thighs. I figured the thighs out was close enough.
Okay, that gets it. You'd be surprised the number of comments that we have to delete off of YouTube videos because people are very insecure when your inseam is something shorter than 9 inches.
So, what's new, Aaron? I see a clean shop. It must be getting close to D-Day.
Yeah, tomorrow's step one, get the motor out. So we're gonna start turning wrenches tomorrow.
That's awesome. I'm very excited, and you're gonna take us along on that journey, right?
I am. That's the plan. Planning to do the YouTube thing with it, and everybody can follow along with the destruction and the build.
What is the build, out of curiosity?
So I have a 02 Tacoma with 287,000 miles on it and a whole bunch of Farkle. So much so that I really can't abandon the truck. It's mine. I'm into it. So it's a 4-cylinder. It's underpowered. It's wore out. I popped a head gasket 2-3 weeks ago now, and I'm just gonna pull the motor out, probably punch the cylinders out, make them, clean it up. Forge piston, open up the ring gaps, probably throw a set of rods at it, bearings, LCE catalog, put a good head in it, stage 1 cam, slap it back in, run it like that for a little bit. I'm leaning supercharger at some point. Turbo makes pop noises. That sounds cool too. I'm going to make sure the pan has an oil drain in it, like all the provisions that I can go either way I want to with it, and it's all going to stay alive for stupid power later on when I can afford stupid power. I'm wanting to build it as far as I can go with it and not have to completely change the drivetrain. We'll see what happens. I want it to go another 500,000 miles. That's kind of my plan right now.
Cool.
Well, I think we've probably yapped about us a lot. Chad, what do you have going on, man? Why don't you tell us and everyone who isn't familiar with AllDogs Offroad, what AllDogs Offroad is and how you guys got started?
So AllDogs Offroad is a co-op based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We've been in business for about 7.5 years now, and we focus on off-roading and overlanding suspension, with our biggest market being Nissan. So we do a lot of coil springs, leaf springs. We do ring and pinions now. We do upper control arms. Just a whole bunch of stuff for Nissan applications. And we do a little bit of Toyota as well. And then we've recently started building coil springs for the full-size domestics. So we got newer model F-150s, 07 and up Silverado, and we have prototype Ram 1500 coils in the shop right now that we are going to be validating soon before we go to production. But yeah, we started as a co-op, and Nick actually was one of our very first customers. I had joined a bunch of Facebook groups after getting the company up and rolling, and Nick was hurting for a pair of Old Man EB leaf springs for his Frontier, and he had an order in with another company and had been waiting months for those parts. I looked at one of our distributors, parts were in stock, and I think I had them to him in 2 or 3 days. That's kind of where we fell into Nissan, is there was this void in the market, and once Nick's order came in, then started to pay a little bit more attention to Nissan, and then all of a sudden more and more orders started to come in, and then all of a sudden it's like 95% of our business, and now we're one of the very few Nissan specialty shops in North America.
Yeah, I remember that time period very well. It was interesting because I remember looking for parts, and there was no one to talk to.
Hmm.
You would email a company, you would call one, but nobody was present. And I saw Chad posted in the forum, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's somebody to actually speak to," you know. And to this day,
Hmm.
outside of maybe one other company that I can think of, and a couple like armor manufacturers, nobody gets involved and talks to the actual market and the people that you're serving. So I think you guys excel wildly in that because no one else does it. And I know when I was a customer, I mean, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's an enthusiast market, and people want to talk to people that um, uh, have their finger on the pulse, or something to that effect. You want to talk to somebody that knows suspension, and you want to talk to somebody on the platform, or in the media that you're currently existing in. So a lot of guys are in Facebook groups now. Forums are kind of dying, and a lot of your institutional knowledge has moved from web pages to forums, and now it's to Facebook user groups. And it'll be interesting to see the next step from there. Is it going to TikTok, or is it going to YouTube? One thing that's very important to us is being able to connect at the levels where the builds are happening, where the guys are actively participating, so that we can participate too and build a community together. And that's one of the big focuses of AllDogs, is creating a positive community where you don't gatekeep knowledge, you don't gatekeep or act like you're better than somebody because you have these certain things that you figured out, and then you hold it above everybody else. We don't think that's cool. We really want whatever tech is out there to be shared by people, so that underserved platforms like Nissan, the more people, the more hive mind you have on it, the more you can push that platform forward and start to find limits and failures, and then improve on those. And a big example right now is with the overlanding craze right now, a lot of guys are gravitating toward camper setups like Go Fast campers or Super Pacifics or Topo Toppers. And on the second and third gen Frontiers, we're finding a defect in the passenger side forward cab mount, which is tearing and failing, which, the truck has been out since 2005, and only now really are people starting to recognize it as these builds have progressed, and as you've put more weight on the top of the bed and started to get, a little bit more swaying motion on the vehicle.
It's interesting that you say that, because I have just put a camper on the back of my Tacoma, and my truck
Hmm.
no longer fits in my garage with that camper on it. So I
No.
have removed it recently, and my bed is destroyed. It is not straight at all anymore. Like, I'm going to have to build a rack inside of it to change the weight from the bed rails to the frame rails and lift everything back up and get it square. I was putting shims under the bed thinking that when I fixed the frame from rust repairs, I didn't get it straight. But no, I'm bending the
Oh.
crap out of the bed. I'm also jumping the truck regularly. So, like, I'm not doing it any favors, but it's interesting to me that that's showing up across multiple platforms now, it seems.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
just so you know, Aaron got that camper on, and then he was like, "Oh, I think maybe what I'll do." I don't think he went camping. I think he got his camera out and just jumped the truck.
Yeah, yeah, we got it on there, and wife and I went out one day, and I just found this nice dirt road with a whole bunch of jumps on it, and I was like, "Yep, we're gonna get some pictures here." I got some good ones.
So, one question that I know a lot of people have, Chad, is they're not familiar with a co-op. So, what was the choice like to structure All Dogs as a co-op versus different business models, especially in the off-road space?
Yeah, so a lot of your typical businesses, what most people can be familiar with, is going to be like a sole proprietorship or an LLC or a corporation. And they're all well and fine, but the different organizations for running a business create different incentives. And so, like a sole prop, LLC, or corporation, typically you want to generate as much profit as you can, because that is distributed amongst ownership. And, that works fine. That's how industry is run for hundreds and hundreds of years. But there are alternative ways to run a business. There are collectives, there are employee owned companies or even employee-owned co-ops. But for us, the choice around choosing a co-op is that we felt that it would do a number of things. The first being that it kind of shifts the impetus on driving profit a little bit so that we can focus more on product development and especially in an underserved market. So if I were the owner of AllDogs and we were, building all these lift kits and the company was generating a profit, my pay would come from that profit at my discretion. So I could just siphon everything off and have no money to put into product development. So the way that you organize a business kind of incentivizes how it's going to grow or how it's going to progress. And so with a co-op, there are a number of things. So being able to generate profit and put it back into product development, or being able to pay out patron dividends to members, kind of like REI. Another thing too, this is a little bit more underhanded in a way, but a co-op business model can actually defeat map pricing on the back end. So if a lot of companies have manufacturer advertised pricing or UPP pricing, I think it's unilateral pricing policy, where you cannot advertise a particular thing or even sell a particular thing for any more or any less than what the manufacturer specifies. Otherwise, you violate terms of agreement, and you can actually be sued for IP infringement if you do so. If you're advertising an Apple phone at $700 when Apple says you need to sell it at $900, just advertising that phone uses Apple IP, their brand, their trademark, and so on. But anyways, a co-op can actually kind of undermine map pricing in a way in which that you sell the product for $100 at map price, and in a calendar year, if your co-op is paying patron dividends, you create a credit on that member's account at the end of the calendar year. So it's kind of a long-term gratification way of being able to sell stuff at lower than map pricing, which creates a competitive advantage for a co-op. And those are the businessy aspects. The other things about co-ops is they're very community focused. So you get a lot of very like-minded people that come together, and it creates a really nice dynamic where, especially like in the Nissan world where we're at right now, where everyone's like, there aren't enough parts in the aftermarket for these trucks. There aren't enough parts in the aftermarket for these trucks. And so we go and, take the profit that we're generating, and then we create new product. A lot of manufacturers, gear manufacturers, Yukon, Nitro no longer exists because of private equity in the aftermarket, which is a huge other topic we can talk about if you want to. But ring and pinion manufacturers were exiting the Nissan market, so that created a nice entry point for us. So we developed our own ring and pinion kits for the 05 and up Frontier, Xterra, Titan. And then the last thing about co-ops is they typically exist kind of on the fringes of like, I don't know what you would call like modern society or something. So like ag co-ops, there are utility co-ops, grocery co-ops. There are tons of them all around when you start looking. Even, I can't remember if it's Ace or True Value hardware stores. I think you franchise the model, but the purchasing power for the franchise it's an overarching co-op. So they're everywhere in our lives, but they're very underutilized. And kind of started AllDogs with the belief that this is an underutilized means for organizing and conducting business, and that there's a ton of potential there. Hopefully, the business model kind of, people see what we're doing and then they take that and transpose it into other industries. With the Affordable Care Act, way back when, originally in the legislation, there were health insurance co-ops that were created, but the big the old head insurance companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, and whomever else did not like this legislation. And so they kind of had some additional legislation that ended up there were a number of healthcare co-ops that were created, but they were all eventually terminated, put out of business because of some specific mechanics where that'd be a long different topic, unfortunately. But anyways, we're here, we're a co-op, we're doing our thing, we're successful, and hopefully other people see this and take it and do it in other areas in life that can be more impactful even than off-roading and overlanding.
I like the community side of it because it's very apparent. I mean, you guys have people travel just to come hang out at your shop. That's not a
Hmm.
common thing. And it sounds like when it comes to products, it sounds like that opens you guys up to have a little bit more freedom with the manufacturers and the source of the manufacturers that you guys go with when you make a new product. I know the vast majority of your steel products are, if not all of your steel products, are U.S. steel, U.S. sourced, U.S. manufactured steel.
Correct. Yeah. So just about everything that we do, when and where we can, we do domestic first. So all of our springs are made in the USA. Our upper control arms are actually made here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Just about everything that we do, with some small exceptions, are all domestically sourced. So things that aren't domestically sourced would be our wheels, our ring and pinions, and that's either a cost and price point consideration, or there are just no companies domestically that want to take on the project. I think I tried for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, trying to find a domestic ring and pinion manufacturer that would produce our gears for us. Just strike out, strike out, strike out. Just couldn't make it happen. And so ring and pinions are coming from South Korea, from the same factories that Yukon and Nitro and Revolution and whomever else are sourcing from. But yeah, we try to do as much domestic manufacture as we can. And eventually here, hopefully in the next 6 to 8 months, we'll be finishing out our suspension line by producing our own shock absorbers. And those will be manufactured in the USA, and we can be a clean slate design that we'll be working on ourselves. And a lot of that turning and manufacturing may actually happen here in Lincoln as well.
Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. Do you guys envision the shock line being manufacturer specific, or do you think that you will go the universal route as well for people doing applications like, pre-runner builds or something that you would see like a King, Radflow, Locked, etc., do with their shock lines?
Yeah, so what we would do is going to be more to an OE form factor. We won't be producing universal coil over coils or shocks, at least anytime in the near future. When overlanding is the big consideration for us, and 99% of the guys that are overlanding are spending a lot of time on the highway before they get to their destination. And so one of the big considerations there is a reduction in NVH, noise, vibration, harshness. So, a King coilover, Radflow, Fox, any of the big baller coilovers, spherical bearing, top and bottom mount, you're transmitting NVH directly from the wheels straight into the cabin. And so, and that even over a short term, an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours of driving, that will physically fatigue a driver. So the shocks that we'll develop will be bolt-on applications, and will retain OE bushings and isolators in order to reduce NVH. The idea is to kind of fall somewhere in between, like a Bilstein 5100 and a 6112, but with better valving and ride quality characteristics, um, and built for medium to heavy load applications. So a little bit firmer on compression, a little bit firmer on rebound, but not digressive. At least on the compression side, we may go digressive on rebound. Uh, uh, but yeah, so OE style form factors to start. And
Yeah.
as with anything that AllDogs does, it will be Nissan first. So we'll be developing for the Frontier, Xterra, Pathfinder, and then for the Titan Armada, and then probably look at Toyota applications after that.
That's a really interesting niche shock to build. And I think the overland community is going to really jump on that. I know, like, I'm on Old Man Emu right now, and I've got, I don't know, 50, 60,000 miles on it. It's been a great shock for me. But to move up to the next level, I'm getting into this stuff that's going to kill some comfort, overall comfort in the truck with noise and vibration stuff with the spherical bearings and
Yep.
I would like to see a good performance shock with rubber bushings and the comfort stuff worked out. And I don't need a full
Yep.
blown race application, but
Mhm.
something better with the OE plus parts, man, that's really desirable.
When it comes to the longevity of a spherical bearing and like a performance shock, I basically get one rally out of my 8125s before I develop tolerances that I'm not comfortable with in the spherical bearings and the misalignment spacers. Um, Not so much the misalignment spacers, but the spherical bearings before I need to rebuild them. So, yeah, it's cheap per se, but it's still, I don't know what, probably before it's all said and done, like $150, $200, and my time to rebuild them. And that's one rally. That's probably for somebody who's not rallying but overlanding their truck. That could be one trip. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's my big holdup is I don't have the
Uh,
time to keep up with the maintenance on all that stuff. I want it to all just live, survive.
yeah, and Chad, I'll say it. I think you guys are going to build a 5100 that doesn't suck.
That's the goal. Yeah. One of the interesting thing in the aftermarket that you guys may not have seen yet is a lot of the shock manufacturers right now are upsizing. So Fox is coming out with they're re-releasing 2.5 IFPs. Icon has some 2.5 IFPs. ARB Old Man Emu has their MT64s now. Dobinson's has their IMS shocks. Everybody in the market from a shock manufacturer standpoint is upsizing based on the perception that a 2.0 has less performance, and they do, but the majority of the majority of end users are not taking a Bilstein 5100 and pushing it to the point of shock fade, especially when Bilstein runs like a 320 psi gas charge at the very least in their front shocks. So ideally, what I'd like to do is have like an intermediate shock, like a 2.25 inch shock body diameter with roughly a 2 inch piston on the inside, and have something that kind of falls at a price point that's somewhere between Bilstein 5100s and Old Man Emus, Nitro Charger shock line, and then the Dobinson's twin tubes. So like $150 to $200 per corner. We'll see if we can do that.
Yeah.
With the machining operations and optimizations, it'll just depend on whether we can hit that, but that's really the goal.
No, I really like that. I think that's smart.
Non-rebuildable is what you have in mind?
Uh, actually, we would probably do rebuildable, to be honest. If we
Speaking
had
my language.
millions of dollars where we could invest it into the machinery to build non-rebuildable shocks, we would do that. But from a small business standpoint for us, it's easier to produce components, assemble them in-house, uh, and that essentially is building a rebuildable shock. So it'll have a gas charge port, it'll have a seal head that'll be removable. So at the scale that we're at right now, building in components and being able to do the assembly in-house um, is more viable than the amount of money it would cost to buy machinery like Bilstein or Eibach or whomever else have, where you can build sealed consumables.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like when I originally said that and you started, I was like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff there to do non-rebuildable shocks. It's a lot easier to do the rebuild ones.
Exactly. Yep. And then also that makes it a little bit more accessible or interesting to the end user too, because then they can,
We can
we
tune
can
it.
we can build content for rebuilding the shocks, show guys how to do it on their own, and then tune the shocks and so on. And the plan is to use off the shelf pieces rather than proprietary. So we're primarily a Fox shop
Yes.
right now. And so the shocks that we will build around Fox shim stacks, so
That's
that
nice.
any shock tuner can get them and rebuild them rather than having proprietary pieces. Fox, Icon, Radflow, King, ADS. There's a little bit of overlap on some of the ID and OD of the shim stacks, but a number of them have different IDs for where the shim fits over the shock shaft.
That's really smart. I think that speaks to, you know, you guys, and I think the perception of everyone, at least in the Nissan world, and I'm not too familiar with the guys in the Toyota world, but AllDogs knows, what they're talking about when it comes to suspension. So one question that I
Mhm.
had was, in the suspension world, what does everybody get wrong?
I would honestly tell you that the majority of people overspend on their suspension. So, uh, a lot of guys kind of enter into off-roading and overlanding through Instagram or through content that they consume, say on YouTube, and then they'll see guys running King shocks or running remote reservoirs and so on. And the majority of people don't live in SoCal. They're not desert running where they need that extra oil volume, where they need reservoirs. Um, and so they have the tendency to pick shocks that have spherical bearings and remote reservoirs and adjusters and spend $4,000 to $8,000 on a suspension that they're not even pushing to 10% of its capacity. There's a very strong tendency for a consumer to want to overspend, um, given the parameters of their build and where they're going to be taking the vehicle and so on. Um, which if you slice up you have a $10,000 budget. If you slice it up, some guys will want to spend $6,000-7,000 on suspension, and then they're just hitting Interstate 80 to go out to Colorado, and they're going 4 low on some of the mountain passes, and they're driving home. You don't need you don't need bypass shocks to do that, you know? Um, so, you slice that budget, you could spend $1,500 on a suspension that will do that and some, and that gives you a ton more money for, rooftop tents or, you know, more travel, more vacations, more time off-road on BLM land and so on. So, I would say that's the big thing, and a lot of the time when we're on the phone and we're talking to guys, guys will come in looking at Fox, Radflow, Icon, whatever. It's like, well, what do you do with the truck? Where are you going to go? It's like, well, you could spend that money, but then also you'd be just as happy spending a fraction of that. And then you've got a lot of money left over. And so we actively, for lack of better terms, downsell people to just so that they're not overspending and then ending up in situations where, 12 months down the road, I got to my coilovers are making a ton of noise. I got to change spherical bearings, or my adjusters that I bought, I touched them once and I've never used them again. Um, so that's the big thing. Yeah, and it's like a lot of people, all this content that people consume is like you have to have this baller suspension to get to these fantastic places, in our public land, and that's not necessary. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a little bit of a counterintuitive, and that another area where co-op can shine is we're not out there to fleece people for their money. We want to make sure that people are uh, building for the application and steering them without having to make a commission or whatever else.
And really, Aaron, I think that really lines up with kind of our philosophy with camo and overlanding is you don't need all that stuff. And I say it over and over and over again. My build in
Hmm.
particular is like it's unneeded. It just became a hobby and I like putzing. It is not. I don't even think it's a good over. As a matter of fact, as far as an overlander, I think it's a very bad build for overlanding. Um, I mean, maybe not bad, but it's not ideal. It's certainly not ideal. It's something that I very much like, and I really enjoy driving. I love off-roading in it, but as an overland vehicle, it's too much. It's too much going on. keeping it simple is really going to help guys who are overlanding for the sake of adventure-based travel. If you keep it simple and
Yep.
reliable, you'll be very happy. When I ran Bilstein 6112s on my Frontier, and yeah, they weren't as nice off-road as my 8112s, but I'll tell you what, they were bomb-proof. My maintenance for those, I took a pressure washer and went, and that was
Oh,
it for 2
Yeah.
years, you know?
Yeah. I think to I think a lot of people go into this thinking that they need to throw a bunch of money at their shocks and spring setup. And yeah, that helps, but it's like you guys are saying, it's not necessary. And I think that if you spend the time and money to perfect the budget stuff, to get all the travel out of your suspension, to make sure there's no binding in it and that everything's moving the way that it should, I think that you get just as much performance gain out of those things, massaging it to work right, as you do the higher end shocks. If you put budget shocks on stuff or even mid grade and get all those other things right, you have a hell of a package for under 2 grand most of the time.
yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing with this hobby or with this activity too, is people want us or people think that they have to spend tons and tons of money to get out and go camping. You know, we're just talking over glorified car camping for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, and the guys that do it right are the guys that go in steps. They start small, you know, they make sure they dip their toes in, make sure they enjoy the hobby. And then, you know, you take the vehicle to its limits and then you iterate through as you hit those limits so that you're not throwing tens of thousands of dollars down, going out camping once and then hating it. Um, you start small and work your way up. Actually, had the pleasure of watching Nick with his build progress, you know, as he found his focus and interest, you know, from early on and then getting into racing here.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It was when I went to Canada, I think it was very close to like its perfect overland form. And then I was like, let's go racing. And now there's a fuel cell where I used to sleep. So I'm probably gonna revert back to a little more trail and overland orientation with that truck. I don't know. A lot of it was kind of unnecessary, extra fluff, and I'm pretty anti-fluff. So I think I'm gonna go back a little bit and take the clock back as I do my whatever umpteenth refresh of the truck.
Well, the race truck can always be a race truck too. You do have a Nissan Armada that you could build into an Overlander.
You know, I traded that in. I got a Kia.
Oh,
Yeah. So
no.
it's actually so terrible story with the Armada. Real quick. I don't know if you
Hmm.
recall. Probably 2 years ago now. Probably 2 years ago now. My wife was parked at work and it got rear-ended. Well, I never
Okay.
laid under the thing. I just come and get it, take it to the shop, insurance, looked at it, whatever. Um, they said, yeah, it's all superficial, blah, blah, boom. Here's whatever. I said, great. Return it to me when it's fixed, right? Well, when I got it back, it was before winter. And if you recall, I was having some alignment issues. And I'm like, man, what
Hmm.
is going on? This doesn't make sense. And I'm slapping parts on it. I'm trying to modify stuff. And then I took some measurements. And the rear subframe was actually bent. So it had frame damage. And
That's not
I was
surprising.
pretty irate at that point. So I looked at my wife, and we were actually sitting at an alignment shop because the alignment tech was like, "Look, man, this doesn't make sense." Like and I said, "Give me your tape measure," and that's where I measured it at the alignment shop. And I saw it was off, and it was off by like an inch and a half, inch and three quarter. So it was bent.
Wow.
Yeah. So I looked over at my wife and I said, well, Telluride, Ascent, or Palisade, pick your favorite color. We leave in 10 minutes. And she kind of looked at me and I'm like, no, please. So she's like, oh, well, I like this moss color. And we left and we went home. And this is so bad. I don't know if the statute of limitations is out here. I hooked the truck and tractor to the Armada and pulled it into submission, and then I ran like a 12-1 bolt through where the cam bolt would be and torqued it to like Mach Jesus, and then traded it in.
I say that's not surprising, but that's because the rear subframes on the Armadas are very weak, and uh, this actually kind of leads into some new product development that not a lot of guys know yet. But we'll be working on a rear solid axle swap kit for the Armadas for the 17 and up, because you guys are starting to overland that application and starting to wheel that application, and that rear subframe far and away is the weak link on the application. The sheet metal is crazy thin. The upper, lower, and trailing arms are all shared with the R51 Pathfinder. They're exactly the same. And it's all just very flimsy. It has no place in a full size SUV, aside from being like a soccer mom go getter, you know?
Right.
So we have Reba, our shop, Infinity QX56 that we picked up, and we've been intending to do this for probably the last 8 months, 9 months, and just haven't had the time because of travel season and so on. But hopefully here this winter, we'll get it in the shop, drop the subframe, take a 3D scan, start building. We haven't decided yet whether we're going to go leaf sprung or go linked with coilovers. More than likely, we'll go leaf sprung just from a simplicity standpoint. But looking for a minimal weld in. I mean, there will have to be some welding just because of the way that the
You
frame
can't
is
get around it.
designed. Exactly. But as close to a bolts-in application as we can, where you just go and grab a M226 or a MA 230 from a second gen. Really, what I'd like to do is build a kit around the second gen, tighten and differentials, because those AAM diffs are way stronger than the Dana diffs. Everything about them on the inside is beefier. And then you have all the gear support, master rebuild kit support of any GM vehicle. A lot of people don't know this, but the 2016 and up Titan all have AAM diffs made by GM, and bearings, races, carrier, everything all crosses right over. And we actually, I recently helped Chris Forsberg with his truck, where he just went and did some racing. He swapped a Ford, custom-built Ford 9-inch in the rear, and was having trouble finding a front differential that would match up to the ratios in the Ford 9-inch. And so I gave him some documentation on taking the AAM front diff from a second-gen Titan and then re-gearing that to work. And then he went racing a month or two ago with it. So
Nice.
Have you seen where guys will mismatch the diff ratios, but they'll do the tire sizes in order to get the final drive to be the same on each axle?
no, I have not, but that's some
Yeah,
redneck ingenuity.
it is. It's straight from the tractor world. But if you can get the right tire sizes and the right gears to work, like I guess the RPM for inches traveled or whatever on each axle ends up working out to be about the same. So it's how you get four wheel
You're
drive with different tire sizes.
I know on Nissans that probably wouldn't fly because the wheel speed sensor data
Oh
would be
yeah, they do all
mismatched
kinds of
and it would have a hissy fit. But
yeah. Yeah, they would lose their minds. I didn't even think about all that stuff. I
that's
still live
pretty
in the
cool,
world
Aaron.
of
No,
like,
I'd never heard of that.
yeah. I'm like poverty package with mine, wind up windows, manual locks. Like I don't have traction control or any of that stuff. So it's not the forefront of my mind. But
Nice.
yeah, I think that's a big thing in like the dirt drag world too. They'll throw a bigger rear tire on and overdrive the front a little bit,
Hmm.
kind of correct it with tire size.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's big in the RC crawler world, actually, to give yourself an
that's where I was
overdrive or an
pulling it from.
underdrive. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
And that's an interesting mods. And speaking of mods, so I like asking everyone this question, and Chad, I think you're going to be an interesting answer here. The overland
Mhm.
world has so many modifications and gadgets. And if you had the ultimate power to just end one of these mods or trends immediately, and if it were up to you, would it be the rooftop tent? Or what would it be?
It actually, well, there's a number of things. So I come from a backpacking background, and so, lightweight, ultra lightweight, modular, that's my big thing. So like these camper build outs with seats in them and things that all look cool, but like if you try to squeeze into them, it's just going to be super uncomfortable. It's performative. So anything in the overlanding market that's performative, I would end. And a lot of the time that can be even rooftop tents. So I don't know if you know this, but I recently traded my 22 Frontier in. We picked up a new 6th Gen 4Runner for product development, and my my truck had a Super Pacific camper on it. It was very nice, but like it's always there. It's always attached, and so you're kind of making an SUV out of a truck that's even less functional than an SUV because you can't, put your seats down or have access through the cabin. So I just recently picked up a swag tent, just like a heavy canvas Australian overlanding tent from 23 and it's fantastic. Like, I don't know that I'll ever go back to rooftop tent just because of how comfortable it is, how convenient it is. Like, it's got the foam mattress already in it. You just unzip it out of its bag, roll it out, put up some tent poles, and I've had the best nights of sleep I've ever had in that. And then always a dog person, Huckleberry likes it a lot better because he even like he'll put himself to bed when I have the swag out. He'll run right up to it and just hook his nose at it, and it's like, all right, Huckleberry, hop on in, go to bed. So,
That's
you
cool.
know, and that kind of transition to what I'd like to see happen in the aftermarket and overlanding space is less of the shit bolted onto the truck and a lot of it being more subdued or modular. So like I have a Kelty awning that packs up into a little bag. I'm just using some tent poles. You can fold it out. You don't have this big, huge tube of a thing on the side of your truck. Um, the swag tent I can throw in the back of the 4Runner. Probably gonna get a roof rack to stick it up there just so that I have a little bit more room in the cabin. But um, yeah, why would you happy to see rooftop tents go by the wayside or at least get lighter or get more innovative or more interesting? It's all just copies of 2 or 3 different designs right now.
Yeah, and I actually, I'm not gonna say who or where, but on LinkedIn of all places, I had somebody in the rooftop tent space reach out, and it was kind of a marketing deal. But I
Mhm.
pried a little bit at what all was going on, and I got a really good look at how deep the white labeling goes in the rooftop tent space. There are
Yep.
tent options that are in like the $800 zone that are also sold at like the $3,000 price range, and the only difference is the label. It was a huge rabbit hole for me into that white label space, and I even have like a whole I haven't finished it. I've kind of backburnered it, but like a whole video series on white labeling of suspension. And I even recently asked a suspension manufacturer that popped into the Nissan space, like, "Hey, man, are you actually like you say you're U.S. manufactured, but are you? Because it doesn't really look like it." Now, in this person's instance, it actually looks like they may be, but yeah, the white labeling in the rooftop tent space and really all of the overland
All
space
of it.
is abhorrent.
Mhm.
And it's not just overlanding either. It is everywhere. I mean, the
Yep.
industrial stuff I run across, it's ridiculous how much Chinesium I open up out of high-end brand name boxes.
Yep. Yeah, all the OEMs or OE replacement manufacturer parts, so Moog, KYB, like a number of these companies are all just buying and reboxing stuff. We
Yep.
basically one of the few things we do source, we went to one of the manufacturers for Nissan top hats. We went straight to the source in China. We were buying the exact same thing, stuck into a KYB box for 4 times the cost for a number of years before we're like, this doesn't make sense. These are all exactly the same. Let's just go straight to the stores rather than
Yep.
deal with a middleman. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a trend that I would like to see die. I think the way you guys do things, kind of like you said earlier, if we could get more manufacturers that are actually doing the legwork and not just sending a Microsoft Paint document to an Alibaba engineer and having a quote
yep.
sent to them, because it's a shame. And the tent thing blew me away. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, if you want to show this in your group," and I'm thinking like, "Oh, dude, no, I don't at all."
Yep.
uh, so you guys spend a lot of time in the shop, but you got to get out a good bit this year in the trucks too. So what kind of trips and wheeling did you guys do? I caught some of it.
Most all of it is work related. So we have a travel season that typically will run from the end of February all the way through September. And so almost every 4 to 6 weeks, we are attending events, Overland Expos, the More Expo, uh, Core. We recently started sponsoring Rogue Overland on their events. So like we've been everywhere. Last year, we were Arizona, we were in Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, uh, Florida, um, Missouri, the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. It just when the travel season hits, man, it's crazy. And actually,
Mm.
this year was for me personally was extended because I had a couple weddings back home in Pennsylvania, and so like I wasn't done traveling until about 3 weeks ago, and like you couldn't force me in a car or on an airplane right now. I just like I can't leave my house. So, but we've been all over, and this year, I can tell you off camera later, but we've got some pretty big opportunities coming up. So we're going to be all across the country in 2026, even more so than we have been. But
That's awesome. We
Yeah, that's
uh we, we got to get all dogs off road at one of the 24-hour rallies. I think that's my goal.
agreed. We need to. We
yeah.
need to. My goal, at least, is just to be able to show up and participate in a camo event. I mean, we've been talking about it and meaning to for years and years now, and just haven't had the time or things just haven't lined up.
Well, I happen to know some guys.
I know.
But
Yep.
no, that would be awesome.
So
That would be cool.
yeah, and part of the problem too is all of our traveling is pulling us more west, and we need to we can't forget the guys on the East Coast.
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of the off-road overland community. It's so west side of the country based. Like when I first got into overlanding, off-roading, I built for the West Coast because that's what the magazines told me to build for. And then I got out in the
Hmm.
woods and realized that everything I've done was wrong and I needed a smaller vehicle. I just needed different things than what the West Coast has. And when you start looking at that stuff, it's it's a lot harder to find for the East Coast guys. You really have to piece things together and know what you're looking at.
Yeah, there are a lot more restrictions too. It's harder to find
Yes.
trails that you can actually off-road with a vehicle on versus an ATV or a side-by-side. Can't disperse camping is a lot harder. On the west side of the country, you can hit BLM land just about anywhere and
Yep.
camp, and you can do it in a full-size truck if you wanted to. East Coast, tight trails, harder to find trails, harder to find dispersed camping, and it's way different.
Way different.
Yeah.
Usually when you screw up too, you're on somebody else's property and they're usually not happy. You run into a
Yep.
lot more people. Yep.
One thing about the East Coast, though, and I don't know if we've actually talked about this, Aaron, but Ultra 4 building that new headquarters in Kentucky. I think that's going to
Yes.
bring a ton of exposure and excitement and events to the East Coast.
Yes, absolutely. When I saw that, I was really, really excited for what the next 5 to 10 years holds for this coast in the off-roading world. I can
Yep.
see I can see a King of Hammers-ish event starting up. I don't know if it ever gets that big, but I can see something this side of the country being big popping up.
Yeah,
It'll be fun to see something that's
definitely.
Yeah,
difficult
I think
racing like
like
that. That's not desert oriented.
yeah, I think FRO, Famous Riding Outdoors, already does some Ultra 4 stuff. They've got enough property. It's probably going to be one of the PA off-road parks just because they've got the land and it's already designated for it. But man, I don't know where else it would be able to have. Maybe you are in North Carolina, but there's really not the spectator parking and stuff for that. I don't know if they have the infrastructure for a race.
Mhm.
I would like to see more of like the stadium style stuff pop up on this side. I think you could put a little
Mhm.
stadium course inside some of these dirt tracks that are dying and really have like street warrior classes that would really call in the overlander small truck East Coast wheeling people. Like it would fit
Yep.
that a lot better. Good crossover. You could race at your dirt track on the weekend in your Street Fighter or whatever, and then go camping in it when you're done.
Yeah. I think
That'd
that
be
we
cool.
will see something to that effect with the what is it, the Appalachian Outlaw property
Yes,
with those
I
guys.
forgot
I
about that.
expect that
Yeah,
to I think that that's going to be. I mean, they've already had some WRC or not necessarily WRC, but rally guy practices out there. I guarantee there's going to be Raptor groups that are going to be showing up. I mean, the property's massive, and they're all about racing, and they're about that life as it gets. So, they are doing what I really want to do. They just
what we
have
pretend to do.
money.
Yeah,
Where are they located, Nick?
They are. I forget where in West Virginia specifically. What that town
that was the park we
settlement
went through with
is.
Mothman with the real steep hill climb, right?
Yeah, real steep hill climb, and then the just like balls out to checkpoint 1 roads.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, imagine those roads, and man, you could get some real nice built trucks that are East Coast guys showing up there. You could absolutely have a small racing series that would be seriously involved in building trucks, competing, generating a ton of revenue.
I would like to see the Class 11 stuff take off over here too. The little
That'd be
Volkswagen Bug
fun.
thing.
That would
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah. I think they are perfect for this coast. As long as you can find them. That's the thing. Everything rusts out over here. So finding good chassis to be able to use is a big issue.
Mhm.
But man, Class
Yeah.
11 here, man, a small little 2-wheel drive buggy,
That'd be gnarly.
that would be gnarly. It'd be cool. You got me
It would be
watching.
That's one of my
awesome.
favorite classes to watch is Class 11.
Yep. Yep.
It's funny you mentioned stuff like that. Of all of the off-roading experiences that I've had, the most fun that I've had is off-roading things that aren't meant to be off-roaded.
Well, what can you say now?
I can say that this here is a fine piece of machinery. Manufacture that wheel made out of unobtainium.
I mean, I've brought the Gambler up a bunch of times, but I mean, taking the Marquee up Flagpole, I mean, that whole day, starting down in Covington, Virginia, and going to Flagpole Knob and a Mercury Grand Marquis on 32s was as fun as it gets. So, like a racing series like that, dude, I'd build another one tomorrow. I'd have a Marquee built out in
Yeah.
so fast.
Yeah. You know what I'd really like to see happen too is the Lemons rallies. Have you seen those?
Mm-mm.
So they start, it's like a point-to-point rally, but they give points for certain landmarks or things you do along the way. And it's basically a build your own route for the day. You find out where the next check-in is at the end of the night, and then you have a list of all the things and what points are worth what. So it can be a destination out in BFE that's worth like 100 points, or you might have to stop and get Waffle House waffles for 10 points, and whatever you and your co-pilot figure out. But if we could do that in West Virginia through all the off-road stuff, man, we could have a hell of an event that is everywhere.
Yeah, so like almost like Amazing Race, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So again, backburnered, but if you recall the Camo Ball Run, that's kind of that. We got to talk about that actually. We'll do that at a later date or
Yeah.
offline, but
I
that's
forgot about that.
yeah, trust me, man, I have so much in here and not enough time, money, and resources, but damn it, stuff will happen, I promise. But that is very similar to what you described, where you can get just a lot of people involved, and it's not necessarily like a door to door, balls to the wall,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? So I think that stuff like that would be really fun, especially. Obviously, it's not a sanctioned thing, but very similar to how Backroads runs things. I think that is really fun. So, Chad, what's next for AllDogs? I know, I mean, we talked about the shocks, but immediate future and then 10-year trajectory. What's your foresight?
Well, the big thing will be shocks so that we have a full suspension package. And then from a product development standpoint, we've rounded out Nissan pretty well. I mean, there will always be things as people push the application, and then we'll address that as we see it. But the big goal for AllDogs is to expand into multiple locations. And so we have guys that will drive all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska from either coast for installations and that sort of thing. And it would be nice to be able to have a west leaning and then east leaning location, so that guys don't have to come all the way to the Midwest in order to have good work done on their vehicles. So that's the big thing long term. There are other things that we'd like to do internally. So continue to refine the website, continue to refine the tools that we built. We built our own inventory management software from scratch, and we have our own voting application for the members. Kind of building those out further and integrating them, and then eventually trying to make those work for other co-ops if they wanted to use them would be really cool. But so doing what we can to support co-op growth from a technology standpoint, and then for the organization itself, getting further out toward the coast so that we can do work for guys, and then continue to grow the community. The hard thing is, the headquarters were in Lincoln, Nebraska, but we have, I think, a significant majority of our membership, aside from our local guys here, there are big pockets in the PNW, and then there are big pockets, in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, Virginia. So being able to establish locations out there, and for guys, like we have co-op members in Nebraska, in Lincoln area, that will come and use the shop and do their own work and that sort of thing. And then being able to open up locations at each end of the country. So, if you need a 2-post lift, you need to get your truck in the air so you can do something, and you're a co-op member, have at it, go do it. So I think that's important. That's kind of like the next big stuff for us.
Before we move on to Q&A, which, Chad, hopefully you stick around because there's a question here I'd like you to answer. Does anyone have anything they want to add, or any last comments?
Good.
All right, we'll move into Q&A then.
Your lack of pinstripes don't lie, and neither do we. Where your feelings need skid plates, this is the Camo Convoy. Q&A.
So this one actually came from the Nissan Frontier Club, and I thought it was perfectly made for you. So this person asked, why are Jeep off-road bumpers and parts so much cheaper than the same thing for a Nissan Frontier? And I'm like, man, that's a Chad and manufacturing volume of sales question if I've ever heard one.
I mean, that's an easy question to answer. A lot of those bumpers are made overseas. So, like, even ARB bumpers for Nissan applications, they're less expensive, but they're made in China, imported to Australia, and then imported to the United States. So a lot of that stuff comes cheaply. Now, there are domestic manufacturers. I think Rock Hard 4x4 is actually in, I think, Grand Island, Nebraska. They do Jeep bumpers and that sort of thing. And I think it is a scale issue. A lot of the Nissan armor is all made to order, onesie, twosies. It's not made in massive batches, maybe with the exception of some of the stuff that Z1 is doing. But again, a lot of that is private equity based, and then that manufacture is being done overseas and then imported. So armor custom bumpers are never going to be cheap, and that's one thing that AllDogs will never do. We'll never make bumpers. We'll never make rock sliders. The amount of time that it takes, the tube notching, the bending, the welding, there's a ton of time in that. And any bumper manufacturer is entirely justified in charging the amount of money that they do, because it's a ton of work. And also, I don't find it, like, I find it fun on a onesie twosie basis, but to do that as your bread and butter, as your lifeline, like, it's hard work. It's really hard work. Tube notching is the worst.
Oh, for sure. I've noticed in the Nissan world, there have been some of the mega non-domestic private equity companies that are starting to turn out these Nissan bumpers. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen 2 of them in person now. I would not put that item on my worst enemy's vehicle. It would be like strapping this can to the front of your truck. It's not even a standardized material thickness. The recovery lugs, if you can call them that, are like butt welded to the actual face of the, again, plate, if you can call it that. So if you ever used it, it would
So
just
they'll
rip
rip
and
right out.
tear. They're horrible, and I'm starting to see more and more folks, especially the second gen Frontier crowd, post like, "Oh, I got my new Nylite bumper," and I'm like, dude.
I
Dude.
heard a slang name for those types of bumpers this week, and it was SEMA spec.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you want a functional bumper, like, you're going to be doing one of 2 things. You're going to be spending a lot of money for a custom made piece, or like a small batch piece, or you're going to go buy a coastal off-road bumper, and you're going to weld it, and you're going to grind it, and you're going to coat it yourself. And the coastal stuff is I've welded a few of those bumpers together, and they go together very nicely. But even those prices have come up quite a bit in the last few years. I think coastal bumpers, from what I remember 3 or 4 years ago, you could pick them up for like $300, and now they're $700, $800, $900, just for the metal to weld together, which is still cheaper than, like a hefty bumper or like a Desert Runner or whomever else, but not the same quality. And so even with the Jeep guys, like, those bumpers are coming off of production lines in China, put in a boat, shipped over here. The fit and finish on them is not going to be good. They're aesthetic only. They're not going to have good recovery points on them. If you want good armor, you're going to spend money, unfortunately.
For sure. Question 2. So a few weeks ago, Aaron and I were asked what our dream Overlander was. So we both agreed in a nerdy way that we already have that vehicle because it's just what we like. But Chad, what is your dream overland vehicle or dream overland vehicle build?
There could be a number of them. The first, right off the bat gut instinct is Suzuki Jimny. I want a new Suzuki Jimny.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I don't care that it's small. I'll fucking make it work. Like,
Yes. Yes.
they're so cool, and it sucks so much that we cannot get them in the United States. Another dream build that would be very cool. So Y61 Patrols, solid front and rear axle, basically like Nissan's version of an 80 series Land Cruiser. Y61s just recently hit that 25-year mark where I think they started making them in 97 or 98. And there are left-hand drive models down in Guatemala, down in Costa Rica, down in Central and South America. So it'd be super cool to go get one. You can find them with a 5-speed manual diesel, and I think you can find them fairly inexpensively. So that would be a really cool SUV build. Another one, you never see Ford Explorers out there. You never see them into off-roading or overlanding, except for the first gens. First gen guys are diehard. They're doing solid axle swaps and stuff. They're building rock crawlers. But to see second or third gen Explorers, I know that they've got some off-roading chops. I know they've got traction chops, but you never see builds with them. So that would be kind of cool. And I think you can get ones with, if you can get the 4.6 liter V8, and I think some of them from the factory came with a limited slip in the rear. They just, for some reason, they never graduated from, soccer mom commuter status. And
that's a good point. That is kind of an underserved overlander that really in stock form would be more than fine.
Yeah. You know what I think it was?
Yeah.
It seemed like the Explorers and the Trailblazers, the interior quality was crap in them. They always rattled. The plastic was cracking. It just felt cheap and chintzy, and the rust took hold of them within single-digit years, like 7 years of age, and they had giant rust holes in the floorboards. I can't tell you how many Explorers I put up in the air, and the rear axle just fell down on the drive shaft. And that was it, because there was no shackles in the back of them anymore. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple Ford vehicles like in the early 90s that have V8 stuff, good transmissions, the good axles to them, like good suspension designs that just aren't picked up on, and the aftermarket hasn't supported.
You get a Watts link in a Mercury Grand Marquis.
Yeah.
It's got to throw a divorce transfer case on it and do some sort of axle swap in the front.
Yeah.
Next question here. I like this one. So this is for all of us. If you want to kick us off, what is one piece of advice that you wish you were given or you were given and did not listen to when you first started off-roading or overlanding?
That I didn't need all the stuff that I was buying for a vehicle. That was so true. I should have gone out in my stock truck and just learned how to drive. I didn't understand so much when I started out, and broke a lot of stuff and caused myself a lot of issues. There was a lot of nights on the side of the road freezing my butt off. I can remember a night, New Year's Eve. We brought in the new year on the side of the road because I put a steering wheel through a Dunlop mud rover in a mud hole. And that was another one of those things that didn't air down, didn't know. I just bought all the stuff and went out wheeling and thought I was going to be all right. So that would be it. I wish I would have taken the advice to learn how to drive and kept my vehicle stock. It'd have been a lot more reliable and saved me a whole bunch in fuel.
Yeah, amen to that. So for mine, I wish that, I'm sure I'd heard it, but I don't know that I even paid attention to it. But I wish that I would have done something right the first time and stopped and thought a little bit longer to have the foresight into doing what I ultimately wanted to do. I mean, Chad, you think about the suspension progression with my Frontier. It has gone through so many iterations. I mean, my gosh, I started with, and I'm ashamed to even say it, but I put a Ready Lift spacer lift on my truck within, I think, 2 weeks of owning it. So it was like a 2.5-inch hockey puck and shackles for the rear. The ride quality was terrible. You Nissan guys know, coil bucket contact, the whole 9 yards, right? Rides like shit. And from there, I went to preloaded 5100s, and that also rides like shit. So like more wasted money, and on and on and on. And I never was like, Nick, do you just like, what are you doing? What is your goal? So I think that would be my advice to everyone: is stop thinking about what's cool and what you think is cool,
Yep.
and think about what you want to do and build towards what you want to do based off of what makes the most sense for your budget and your goals and how important being reliable is to you. Now, if just looking cool is your thing, I mean, I don't know. You probably don't listen to us then, so this doesn't apply to you. That's going to be mine. Long-winded, but essentially build for what you want to do.
I would say that now that I'm thinking about it, I would say that mine is wishing that I had a leadership figure. So like a lot of this, almost all this, like I went out on my own, like didn't have someone older, more experienced to talk to. Like the big thing that comes to mind is the first re-gear I ever did was on my Lexus GX 470. And the amount of panic and stress and terror on when you have the differential sitting out of your daily driver and you're trying to get this back together, and it was, it would have been nice to have had the experience and education of somebody that was already involved before deep diving into some of the things that I've done. I mean, a guy can do it on their own, but there's something to be said for having a second set of eyes or somebody with a different perspective or a little bit more experience kind of help you through some things. I've done a ton of re-gear since, and it's just second nature now. But like, and for overlanding and off-roading, I've been fortunate in having a big shout out to Dylan and Jules, who kind of took me under their wing and took me out into Colorado and have done a bunch of things with them. But there are times where it's like, man, I wish I had someone I could talk to or pick a brain, and not having had that. So I would say, like, if you're getting into this, like, find somebody with some experience. It's a very open and friendly community, and make some friends, learn some things.
That is such a good tip. And man, that speaks to, I think, one of my biggest character flaws, and that is simply I don't ask for help. And I promise you, it is not because I think that I am better than you or everyone, because I know that's not true. I just don't do it. And it has bit me in the ass a lot. And like, yeah, woohoo, you learn from the school of hard knocks, but like, I've messed a lot of stuff up. So, yeah, that's great advice. That is really good advice. And I'm working on it.
Yeah,
working on it.
I definitely owe some old guys some serious thanks for some of the screw ups that I found myself in that they were able to fix for a little bit of nothing just because of their experience. They've been doing it forever. And I caught a bunch of shit for it and, heard them raising hell and whatever. But the knowledge I gained from these guys has been invaluable to me. There is stuff that I've learned that I apply every day at my job now because of how they did things in my screw ups. So yes, mentors are great to have. Find an old guy.
Agreed.
A grumpy old guy.
Yeah, it'll be us one day.
Even before you spend thousands of dollars on suspension, like, making friends and learning is free. You don't have to go and spend a bunch of money and pimp out your ride. When you can go and talk to somebody, be like, hey, can I go do a trail ride with you guys sometime? And
yeah,
definitely.
That's something that Nick has really done a good job of building with Camo. Is there's a lot of really good, talented people in this group that when new people come in, we really do embrace them and take them under their wing and try to help them and point them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the
That's
places
important.
that's really taken off, and I guess it's a little plug for our Discord, but basically, Facebook groups did away with the community chats or whatever. I talked about conspiracies too much, and they said we can't do it anymore. I don't know, but that's gone. And that used to be a huge part of Camo, so we moved to Discord, and actually, it's been fantastic. The people that transferred over are the regulars who have a ton of knowledge. I always say if the world ended, I'd want to be stuck in that group because we could probably rebuild. Everyone has knowledge, and it seems like everything. The group is like a walking, living encyclopedia. So if you aren't in there, the link's on our Facebook page. Please get in or message us so that we can get you the join link. You don't have to send toe pictures or anything to get in. If you want to, by all means, that's fine.
Nick enjoys them.
Yeah, it's giving me something to do. You'll get what is that, trail karma for toe pics.
Nope, that is definitely, the Discord has definitely been one of the most free-flowing information sources I think I've ever been a part of. There is no gatekeeping of information for anything. Like we have come up with some like really random off-the-wall topics somebody has asked about, and there's been somebody in the group that's been like, "Oh yeah, I do that daily. Here's what needs to happen," and you shoot off into
like
chat. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's wild. Like I've learned a lot of 3D printing stuff just listening to other people chat about it.
Yeah. Hell, somebody asked about drones, and one of the guys was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm actually just going to a sales pitch today to make these drones take shit to a fucking satellite."
Yeah, like that's what he does for a living. So, like, he was going to hire another guy if he lived a little closer to let him run them. So, yeah, it's the Discord is really cool. Yeah.
It's a good time for sure.
And I know I can tell a lot of guys in there are in the same position as me, where in my day-to-day life, there's nothing with a heartbeat outside of my toddler sons that I can talk to about off-roading and overlanding. So it is quite literally a constant roll all day. Like if you like to just chit-chat, go there because it's going to be off-road, overlanding, gear, tech, mods, 24/7.
It's guy talk. It's manland.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good time. All right, next question here. I like this one. Aaron, what's your favorite camp food?
Oh, what's my favorite camp food? Oh, man. I like deep fryer stuff. I like air fryer stuff, too, because it's a lot easier. There's nothing like a Buc-ee's brisket sandwich. That hits pretty good, too. Yeah, one of those. I'm not the health freak, but I go a little bougie with food too. I made a bang and smash burger last summer that I brought Wagyu burgers out, and yeah, I gave you one. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Have you had a better one yet?
So taste and flavor wise, no. However, after the 24-hour when I crossed the finish line, Max handed me a beer and a burger, and like, whoa.
Yeah, situations will make food better than what they might actually be any other time. So yeah,
it could have been It could have been terrible. I don't even know. I don't even remember tasting it or swallowing actually. But I do remember that experience of like a warm item entering my stomach. Felt awesome.
Yeah.
After 24 hours, yeah.
Yeah. Well, after 15.
But
Chad, what do you have? Favorite camp food?
Peak Refuels home style chicken. I will only do freeze dried when I'm traveling, so big on the Peak Refuel stuff, and that one's my favorite at the moment.
I'm right there with you, but I'm a Walmart Mountain House biscuits and gravy. I look forward to that breakfast every single trip. I don't go on one without it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't cook, I don't clean.
It's just nice not having to carry a kitchen and stuff. I'm lazy when it comes to food.
Yeah, I'm like you. I treat a lot of overlanding. I mean, not my truck, but the things I put in my truck, I treat like backpacking. It's as ultra light as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yeah.
what got me into bringing the deep fryer camping is that it brings people together, and it has been a extremely good networking thing for me where people remember, hey, I had the best waffle fries I've ever had in the middle of the woods in BFE, and they reach back out later on, and like if I need a favor or something, these people are like, hey, fries next time. It's been it's been a
real,
good
though.
return on investment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a
No.
really good point too, is cooking and when you're traveling does bring community together, and that's the downside to freeze-dried foods. It's like they're just single solitary. It doesn't create a big memory or anything, but definitely times where I've sat with someone and they've made something. It's like, how did you make this out in the middle of nowhere? It's like
Yeah.
super good.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually what Nick said to me. He was like, "You're handing me gourmet restaurant quality food right now." I handed him a Wagyu smash burger with garlic herb butter toasted bun and like the Velveeta cheese all melted down. I wrapped it up in aluminum foil and left it steam. Like this was the best
Damn.
burger. Like it was top notch, man.
Yeah, I would have to drive at minimum an hour west into Pittsburgh to get something remotely close. And I had it at like 4,000 feet in the middle of the woods. We haven't been in civilization for like 2 days. Yeah, it
But
was
that's
sweet, man.
that's a core memory though. Like that's what defines the trip. It's like, oh yeah, hey, remember that trip where so and so had that amazing chocolate bar, or so and so had these tacos, or what? Like you remember the trip by the food a lot of the times, or the screw ups that happen on the trail. But a lot of times it's the food.
Yeah, man, that's such a good point. Because I think back to, oh gosh, this is probably this was like COVID time, I think. But we had a chili cook-off event in November. And man, that was one of the coolest trips. And you're exactly right. It was because everyone came together to eat.
Yeah.
I should probably revisit that because there are a lot of good memories with that. And any time that somebody has kind of gone and done that, it's been a really good thing. I mean, hell, we're bringing diesel heaters and gadgets and stuff. I think it wouldn't be the worst idea to actually bring some items to cook warm food. So I think I'll look into that. I'm glad we had that conversation.
Yeah.
So all right, so this next one, Chad, I didn't brief you for this, so do your best. But so these are the blind questions. So I'm gonna hit you guys first. My blind question is, in the last 10 years, what is the worst factory four-wheel drive for overland and off-road?
Anything Chevy.
ZR2.
So, the worst four-wheel drive.
Anything's GM.
I would say probably one of these crossover things that's front-wheel drive first, and like the Jeep falls into that in a sense, but not in the way I'm thinking. I was thinking like the people who are out there in like the Honda, what are they, CHRs or something, or the they're like Ultra Mom crossover thing. They're mainly front-wheel drive with all-wheel drive eventually when needed.
Yeah.
New Ridgeline's like that, isn't it?
Probably,
I think
man.
so. Yeah. Unless, I think the premium package, whatever the highest trim package, has like a better all-wheel drive option, or maybe it's the only one with all-wheel drive. Is that how that works for the Ridgeline?
I don't know. I haven't dove into the dealership spec sheet to find out.
Yeah, I like frames, but
Yeah.
Their new Passport or whatever, it looks really cool, but I mean, if they put it on a body on frame, it would be a fantastic vehicle probably, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this for the reason you think I'm saying this, but my choice is going to be the Ineos Grenadier because it's not that reliable and it's super proprietary. So if you're somewhere and something happens, you're hooped, dude. You're not getting parts. It's not happening. So I'll expand that to anything proprietary. But the thing that really hit me was the Grenadier, just based off of. I mean, I know 3 people directly that have them, and all 3 of them are broken. So that's my pick. When they're working, they're sick. Like, they're sick.
Yeah.
I love them. Don't get me wrong. I love them, but I think based on them being so proprietary and we can call them rare, I think it makes a really poor choice for overland travel.
Yeah. I kind of want to throw the F-150 Raptors in this too because of how wide they are. How big
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
they definitely have their place. They're definitely off-road capable. I'm not shitting on them. But for overland travel, East Coast, where I feel like this podcast focuses on, they are just massive. Like, I know what it's like getting Curtis's Tundra out in the trails, and to have a Raptor that's another foot wider, I
Mhm.
I can't imagine wheeling that through the woods.
Yeah. We've had 2 trips with Raptors come with us where they've either taken fender damage or ripped the tailpipe off.
Yeah, I wonder if it was putting a tailpipe out like that behind a tire. Like, I guess it's got to leave the body for some regulation or something. We can't just cut
Yeah.
them off, kind of like point out of the bed ish, but still be
Yeah.
tucked.
Anymore, dude, I just hack them off over the axle. I'm
That's where
tired of
mine's.
pissing with
Yep.
them, yeah.
Yep. I'd like to run mine through the bed, throw a flamethrower on it, or the turbo will take care of that. But
Yes.
time.
Yeah. I'm
Time.
jealous of Curtis's through bed exhaust. I love that look so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. I've been wanting to do that for years.
And it's out of the way. It
It is.
looks good. And obviously, if this is a truck that the bank still owns, you're not cutting holes in the bed, right? But if your old girl's got some
Maybe.
age on her, it's not a bad mod. I mean, it does have utility. I mean, I've smashed the tailpipe section on my Frontier. I've had 3 or 4 different exhausts on the thing, and all of them have had smashed tailpipes. The first 3, I let it go until the tailpipe got smashed shut, and then I was like, all right, for this last one, I'm not even installing all of the tailpipe section. I'm just cutting it off.
Yep. That's exactly what I did. I ended up with a Rock Auto, was it Walker Quiet Flow or something, just a bolt-on muffler tailpipe thing. And before I even put it on the truck, I just cut the tailpipe off right over the axle.
Mm-hmm.
I did similar in Moab. I think it was on top of the world. I think I came off a shelf and crushed my tailpipe into the tow hitch and just like put a huge crimp in it. So like all the exhaust restriction got back to Lincoln Sawzall.
Yep.
That's the way to do it. All right, Aaron, hit us.
What is your worst tire of all time, and why is it a Thornbird?
Oh,
What is the worst tire of all time, and why is it a Thornbird?
worst tire for overlanding?
All time. Worst tire you
All
can think
time.
of. Yep. It can be overlanding, it can be off-road, it can be your bicycle.
Okay.
What is your worst tire, man? What's the one that you're just like, no?
I'll tell you, I mean, obviously, like, the one that pisses me off is the KO2. However, like, there's instances where it's a really great tire. I think
Yeah.
hardpack, like rocks, I think it's a really nice tire. I think it's terrible in the mud and soft earth and snow and ice. But I'm not going to say that's the worst. The worst, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I want to say Venom. Venom is the worst tire. I have seen, like, if you own a truck with Venom tires, I know that your drywall has multiple holes in it that you haven't patched. I know that for a fact, and it's from you punching it.
I'm glad you said it. I was thinking it.
Do you remember Pitbull tires?
Yeah, I actually wanted a set of them at one point. What were they, rockers or something? They look like a bunch of ninja stars. They look like loud. That's what they look like. The tread pattern just looked loud. You could hear them just sitting in the parking lot.
I haven't had any bad experiences with tires yet, but it's limited to Falcons and Ken does. So I've had good luck with both of them, but I do have a prejudicial bias against the KO2s as being too heavy and not a lot of traction. It's just like boomer tire for the most part. They were probably fantastic 30, 40 years ago, but treads and tire compounds have come so far that it's just like people clutching to the past.
Yeah, still holding on to the name's legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think my worst tire for sure is a Dunlop Mud Rover or any tire with a 16.5-inch rim.
Oh, that's an odd one.
Yeah. I had Mud Rovers on my old Chevy and like soda box cardboard sidewalls. I put a steering wheel through it on New Year's Eve, like a steering wheel popped the sidewall. I went through 3 of those tires in 4 months. They were awful. Great drift tire though. There was no traction on wet pavement. Yep. They sucked.
Nice. Well, Chad, if you'd like to ask us a blind question, if you can think of one, and you can take your time, we'd be more than happy to rattle our brains.
What's the most odd but important tool that you guys keep in your tool bag?
Mint Chill Dude Wipes. Has to be Mint Chill, and that's like a non-negotiable. I'll actually go out of my way to have those with me. It's just something about the whatever the Mint Chill has going on is what my body craves.
It's got electrolytes. That's mine.
Oh, CV puller. That's a good one.
This is a pry bar for a 3/8 drive ratchet, so it can index however it goes on either way. It is a pry bar that takes up no space. And these are on Amazon for like $10.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a great tool.
Yep.
Dang. You're gonna make me go poor. You have a lot of those Santa's sack little gadgets, and I'm like, damn, that's really useful.
Yep. Wait till I show you the drill bits that go sideways. That's a later episode though.
Well,
you want to see them? Let me see if I can find them. You'll like these too.
Mine is just a seatbelt defeat device. So in the newer vehicles, even if you're in 4-low, going like super slow and you have your seatbelt off, it'll beep at you. But so you just clip it in like a seatbelt and it shuts the thing up, but then it's got a bottle opener on it.
I just go to the junkyard.
I thought factory seatbelts were already bottle openers.
I mean, they would be.
That's a good one.
So it's a normal drill bit, spiral, you punch through, but then here are teeth.
Oh, it's like an end mill.
Yeah, so you can punch through a hole and then you just drive it however you want, and you can go sideways with it.
That's brilliant. That's a good one.
That's nice. You don't even have to measure, and you can still cut once.
Oh, they're perfect for wallowing out holes, man. You get something in a firewall that you can't get on just straight, so you punch a small one of those through, and then just keep, and it'll make a hole.
Don't need a die grinder because the drill bit will do it.
Yep. And there's $7 for a kit of them. So if you booger one up, like you're not really upset with anybody or anyone, you know?
That's awesome. I like that a lot. We're just gonna need
they're
an
cool.
episode of like Aaron's special tools.
Aaron's gear. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been wrenching pretty hard for 30 years, man. I've picked up some shit.
Yeah. Well, you also have our tech tip today.
Women may not find us handsome, but damn it, do they find us handy. It's time for a Camo Convoy tech tip.
Yeah. So last week we were talking about products that your overlander needed, and I recommended some chase lights. And more than likely, somebody's got lights sitting around that they would like to use, but they're usually just on and off lights. So you can pick these up. This is a brake light, what do they call it? Multi-function light controller. And these have a bunch of patterns that you can preset that will flash. And it just goes in line with your light. This way, you run a regular trailer light and you can make it flash and do whatever. I picked up 4 of those for $12.
Wow. I like that.
Sure.
For
Yeah,
a chase
agreed.
light application, you know, you don't want to put them on your Chinese Suns on the front bumper, but you know, a red pod light in the back with a flood pattern, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. What a lot of people don't realize, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about these, but the switch panels, a lot of folks with switch panels, those panels actually come if you open the manual. You could actually program your buttons to flash on some of those. So that would be an option for guys as well. Check out, your particular switch panel, relay box, whatever you want to call it, and see if your control panel actually has the ability to make lights flash. Now, obviously, like you said, don't wire up your Wuhan Suns to, blast the people behind you. But a floodlight, yeah, no, absolutely, it's a way to save a couple bucks and make use of the lights that you have laying around.
Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing with this and you want to do it yourself, please stop in the Discord and say, hey, help me. And one of us will pick you up. But more than likely, it's going to be me with wiring. But there is help out there, and ask for it, because there is nothing quicker that will burn your vehicle down than shitty wiring.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Chad, any AllDogs off-road tech tips?
Don't run spacers.
Yep.
That's an easy one.
That's an easy one.
Final tech tip for you real quick.
Yeah.
Use, especially if you're in the rust belt, use some fluid film, or I use Cosmoline spray that you buy on Amazon. Rust coat,
Yep.
just spray coat the entire underside of your vehicle.
I think it's less important what you use and more important that you just use something.
And do it every year.
Yep,
Yeah.
keep up on it. I actually, tomorrow, what is today? Yeah, tomorrow I actually have a new spray gun coming to finish fluid filming both vehicles for that reason. So I like fluid film. I like any lanolin-based undercoat. I think they work really well. For whatever reason, I like the smell.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. I like it. I like the black. I like the black tinted ones. Little trick for you: if you take a one that isn't tinted, usually you can get deals on PB Blaster's brand Surface Shield. I don't think it's a full gallon, but it's close what it comes in, and they're only like $50, I think, for the that container, which is reasonably cheap, but it's not tinted. If you take a small portion, I'm talking like maybe a cup or less of an alkylid-based paint, so that would be like your Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement paint, and you just put that in there and mix it up. It will tint it black as night and spray exactly the same. It doesn't dry or harden up or anything like paint would. And that works really, really well. I did that almost 2 years ago now on my Frontier, and it has held up really well. So there's a little bonus tech tip for underspraying. So that's our tech tips for the day. Chad, where can everybody find you if they want to get in contact with AllDogs?
Best way is AllDogs website, alldogsoffroad.com, but we're everywhere. We're on Reddit, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, TikTok, to a lesser degree, but you can just find us just about anywhere.
Yeah, and he's in the Discord too. But
Discord.
Cool.
Chad, we appreciate having you on. That was fun. You're our first real deal guy, so that's also really fun. Again, thank you so much. And until next time, guys, keep the shiny side up, rubber side down, air down your tires. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me, guys.